Hi, angels. Welcome back to the channel. So, today I wanted to talk deeper about loneliness. What does loneliness means? What does it look like? Where does it truly come from? What's the root of the cause of loneliness? And when I was thinking about this topic, I remember that for me personally, from my personal experience and just observing the world, I noticed that the root of loneliness comes from not feeling good enough. It comes from lack of purpose, lack of direction, lack of motivation. And so when I was going through a period of loneliness, so a little backstory about me. I'm a introverted person in a way that my social capacity is really short. It's probably like a couple hours and I'm already drained. And so I never really get lonely because I want to be around other people. I only get whenever I felt lonely, it was a place from of lack of direction and lack of productivity, lack of purpose, like all the things that I was saying from the beginning. It was because I didn't have a clear vision for my life. I felt like I was just going with the flow and just doing the mundane things, and I just wasn't getting spiritually fed in a way that I needed to. And so, because I wasn't getting spiritually fed, I rely on vices, and that's what happens when you become lonely or you have this spirit of loneliness within you. You start relying on vices that are not probably good for you. Some vices might be binge eating, it might be drinking, it might be binge watching toxic shows, and it just might be different vices that you're doing to numb the feeling of loneliness. And so, what I noticed is that when you pick up a vice, for example, my vices when I was younger and like my college days was like drinking alcohol. That was like my thing. I felt like as long as I was drinking, I was happy, I was having fun. And what I noticed that I started to pay attention to how I feel when I start getting those loneliness, those feelings within me. How do I feel? And then how do I feel when I start picking up the vice of my choice? Let's say for drinking, for example. How do I feel during that process? And also, how do I feel after I'm done drinking? And so, what I found was that when I started to pick up a vice and doing that, I started to feel better, right? I felt energized, I felt happy. I was like, having fun in the moment. But then it's kind of like, and then afterwards, once the vice was done, like that really high energetic feeling is gone, then all of the pain and emptiness came back because there was a rooted seed of loneliness that had nothing to do with outside world or outside vices. It was something, it was like a spiritual thing within me that needed healing and that needed to be filled up. And so then that's when I started to not rely on vices. I started to really surrender to the feeling and to like dig deeper into why I was making the choices I was making, why I was doing the vices that I was doing, like just why was I doing certain things when after they were done, it was a negative effect on my spirit, on my mood, on everything. And so I found that once I started when those feelings started to come up, I started to just like surrender to it. And I found that it was just lack of purpose and just lack of direction. And the truth is, you have to get to know yourself. You have to get to know who you are. Some people are very extroverted and they can handle multiple tasks at the same time. They can have a social life, have a business life, and just like have personal life, like intimate relationships. They can do all these things. But for me, I found that in order for me to have a personal life or like a social life, I need to be spiritually met and like grounded and spiritually in something that gives me like purpose and motivation and like a direction for my life. So I need like a structure. I need to feel like I have my life in order in order for me to literally have fun. And so that's why I said, like, so I had to be released. I always knew of God, but I wasn't committed to no religion, really practicing like the rituals. Let's say, for example, like, uh you're not supposed to be having sex before marriage. We all know this. All of like the religious texts say this, but I wasn't really taking it that serious, right? I wanted to just live the way the world was living. And so, and little things like that, when I started to even like being abstinent, that really helped me a lot. It grounded me because now I'm like following. And when I was reading the Bible, about the commandments of like not stealing and like committing adultery, all these like principles, right? And of course, I don't steal, but all these principles I started to apply into my life. And once I really started to apply all the principles that the Bible was telling me onto my life, and even what my parents were telling me before, obviously they told me this before, but take it I didn't really take it personal and like apply it into my life, because my dad was living differently than what he was saying. He wasn't practicing what he was preaching. Anyways, but the things that he was saying was for my highest good. But at the time, me just being like a teenager and then a young girl in college, I was always very sheltered. And so I felt like I needed to be free and like experiment, which it wasn't really. We're not missing out. Like when the Bible says, or the Quran or any religious text tells you to save yourself before marriage, and to not get drunk and all these things, it's like it's for your own good. It might seems like it's for like control, but honestly, the older I get, I realize that all these things are guidance and tools to keep you safe, so you don't expose yourself to diseases, you don't get involved, have spiritual soul ties on you that's going to be hard to get off of you. It just gives you more mental clarity and more focus on your life, your purpose, and what you want out of life, and just being the best version of yourself. And so that's what I found. I found that loneliness really comes from a place of lack of purpose and directions. Because once you start having purpose in your life, once you just start being productive, of let's say having a career of your own, having a morning routine, like a health and wellness routine where like you work out, you're taking care of your body, and you're reading your whatever religion you're in, you're reading that holy text and kind of applying into your life all the principles. Once you start doing that, you start to have more mental clarity, and then you start to have more discretion and more discernment to know that certain vices or just a temporary feeling to numb your emotions, versus actually going processing through your emotions and all of digging deeper to why you're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling sad. Digging deeper, what's the root of it. Once you don't have those vices and you rely on the holy text that you resonate with, and you start applying those, then you start having more clarity and you start having more strength to keep going and to redirect your energy towards more productive things in your life that fills your cup up. Like for me now, like even though I used to be a TV junkie. I love movies, I love shows. That was like one of my things when I was in my teens. I would just love watching movies. And like the older I get now, honestly, I think twice about everything that I watch. I became so mindful of my time, of my energy, that sometimes like when I put a movie on Netflix, I'm already like bored and over it, because I'm like, oh my god, I could be working out, I could be reading my Bible, I could be thinking of like, writing in my journal, I could be think of like creative ideas to how to improve like, my YouTube channel, just how to be a better version of myself. And so that all came from mental clarity. And honestly, abstinence, that's another topic that I really want to tap into, because that's also been one of my biggest healing journey in my life, was being abstinent, especially in a world that's like overly everyone is just out there. It just became the norm to just me and do whatever. And which I don't judge. I don't judge it because I don't know. I have a better understanding of why people do it. And like you're young, you don't know better, and that's why I'm always practicing. When you know better, you do better. But because I didn't know better, I did certain things. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So I did know better to a certain extent, but I was rebellious, right? That's the word. I think I was a little rebellious and a little curious of the worldly ways. And so I kind of fed into some of like those little vices that I now realize like it's not good for me. It does not add nothing into my life. If anything, I come back once I'm old, once I do those things, afterwards I feel disgusted, I feel guilty. I just feel like icky. And I'm like, why do I want to feel those kind of emotions? That's literally a sign that that's my body and my spirit telling me that's something that I'm not supposed to be doing. And so once you just start listening to your body and your spirit, when you start tapping into those vices that you're doing to numb whatever pain that's within you, you really start to pay attention to what it does to you afterwards. You know in your heart that you know right from wrong. It's like right from wrong, it's something that we really just cannot hide, or we can try to justify it and make excuses for it, but deep down we know right from wrong. And so, and because I just like now have more clarity on right from wrong, and I've been convicted because of my faith and my my purpose now, and just I've been more awakened that I can no longer know better and not do better. It's something, it's like I'm betraying my whole existence when I start to do things that I know is not good for me. And so that's my video today, to kind of shed more clarity on loneliness. What does it represent in your life? What is it trying to tell you? And the root cause of it. The root cause of your loneliness might be different, but this is just my personal experience and my personal observation of the world, of what loneliness means, and how to kind of overcome it by being productive and by being more spiritually aware and reading your word, and just having principles, morals, and values that you do not compromise no matter what, because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Your spirit, your well-being, your heart, mind, body is worth it. Your vessel is worth it. So treat your vessel the way you want everyone else to treat your vessel, with respect, kindness, love, grace. Okay? So happy Sunday. I'm getting ready to go to church right now, but this was on my spirit to share with you. I love you all. Hope this message finds you well. XO.